Hello, my friends! In today's video, you'll find out what happened to Gina Anderson, a neurologist, after undergoing a procedure to become more beautiful. But before this video starts, don't forget to click like and subscribe to the Mira Histórias channel. Thank you! Nowadays, altering aspects of the face, such as lips, nose, cheeks, or forehead, is quite common. It's easily accessible, and many so-called specialists operate in the plastic surgery business. However, not all of them are legitimate, and it's vitally important to always go to a real doctor who knows what they're doing. This is something that Gina Anderson from Oregon, USA realized, but unfortunately, too late. Gina Anderson, a neurologist, wanted to look better when she turned 40 and decided to adjust a few things. A colleague helped her with cosmetic fillers, and things took a horrible turn years later. Gina ended up with a giant inflammation under her right eye, and it turned out that she had been injected with silicone. The problem only grew until the woman was left with a hole in her cheek. Gina turned to the doctors on the television series Botched, where she hoped to get the help she needed to fix her face. This is what happened, and in this video, I'll show you how Gina Anderson is now. Being comfortable in your own skin is one of the most important things in life. It doesn't matter if that means being bigger, thinner, taller, or shorter, bald, covered in hair, or anything else related to appearance. Of course, we all have things that we may not be 100% happy with, but in the end, feeling comfortable and accepted for who you are is crucial in life. The key is to accept yourself, not to chase the acceptance of others. While some deal with things by changing their hairstyles, going to the gym, or even having surgery, others feel that it's necessary to change at a deeper level. We will always reiterate that you should always do what makes you happy and comfortable. However, we also advise you to consult a legitimate specialist if you are ever considering plastic surgery, no matter what it's for. Your body is at stake, so do thorough research. For Gina, from the United States, research would have been a good thing. She works as a neurologist, and when she turned 40, she wanted to do something to look better. A colleague offered to do fillers for me, and it was like, well, I'm in my 40s, I'm going to look a little better, she said on the reality show Botched. Gina thought she was getting Restylane or Juvederm, two cosmetics used in fillers. However, it turned out that she was injected with silicone, which changed everything. Due to the silicone, her right eye and part of her cheek became deformed. Not only were the silicone injections illegal, but her eye and cheek became very inflamed. Although she had received injections in both cheeks, somehow only one side received the silicone. In the end, Gina and her husband concluded that it must have been because she took two different injections with two different products. 4 years later, things got very, very bad. The horrible effects of the illegal silicone injections began to appear. The inflammation was called a granuloma, which is usually caused when immune system cells clump together and create nodules at the site of a specific infection or inflammation. According to experts at the Mayo Clinic, granulomas are defensive mechanisms that trigger the body to ward off foreign bodies, usually to prevent bacteria from spreading. At first, the granuloma that Gina had on her cheek and eye was trying to protect her, but in reality, it ended up being something out of a nightmare. In a matter of days, as Gina recalled, the granuloma had grown a lot, and then, suddenly, it exploded. Suddenly, it just exploded, and there were just huge granulomas, Gina shared. At that moment, Gina knew she had to get help. She underwent 5 different corrective surgeries to remove the silicone, but none of them worked, and the granulomas returned. In the end, she was left with a hole in her cheek. "I had to close my clinic," Gina said. "You can't sleep, and you're in constant pain. This isn't just me looking a little pretty. I'm in agony, I don't sleep, my hair started to thin like hair loss, and I started to feel kind of weak and tired. It's been a nightmare." Gina hadn't received the help she urgently needed, and so she decided to turn to Dr. Terry Dubrow and Dr. Paul Nassif, featured on the reality show Botched. When you have a granuloma, which is a foreign body inflammatory reaction, it usually happens between 6 months and a year, explained Dr. Dubrow. The fact that Gina didn't start developing these granulomas until much later indicates that it's a very slow and latent, chronic inflammatory response that can be potentially very, very difficult, if not impossible, to treat. Although Gina's 5 surgeries had made the hole in her cheek disappear, she had to undergo 2 more procedures at the Botched clinic. They took some fat from her belly and added it under the skin of her cheek to give some volume to the area. Dr. Paul Nassif was responsible for Gina's surgeries. During the first procedure, he said he found unusual things. It turns out that he removed what he explained looked like a piece of gauze from her face. Afterward, Gina explained that her pain was slowly disappearing and she was finally able to sleep. "I'm so grateful now that I have a chance to get my life back because things were starting to look dark. This is the best I've felt in a long time, so I'm just crossing my fingers that this is really the end of my personal hell." But the joy of being able to sleep and not feel pain all the time didn't last long. Unfortunately for Gina, there were several complications since the first procedure, and the swelling in her cheek returned. Dr. Nassif explained that the problems are called recurrent seromas. Unfortunately, Gina had no choice but to undergo another surgery. "My only alternative at this point is to open it up again, look for the seroma capsule, and remove it completely, and hopefully that's it," Nassif said. For some reason, Gina's body is constantly producing fluid in her cheek after her first surgery. "Why is this happening? I don't know," he added. This just shows that you can never predict what's going to happen in terms of healing after operating on a face that has had silicone injected into it. The second time, Gina finally got the results she wanted. She was incredibly happy, and her face was practically back to normal. The doctors did a fantastic job, and Gina was ready to start her new life. Looking at the last photo after the second procedure on Botched, we understand that she is happy. "Gina looks great. My energy level is increasing, and actually my mood has improved," she said. "My hair loss has stopped, and actually my hair is starting to grow back." She added, "My thought process is actually getting faster. I mean, it's just a miracle. It's just a life change." Gina really looks amazing now, don't you think? Plastic surgery should only be performed by a real specialist, and if you are thinking about undergoing any procedure, make sure you are visiting a real specialist. Although some want to change aspects of their bodies, we should also always try to be happy and confident about who we are, even if from time to time that can be challenging. In the end, we always matter, and there is always something we can be proud of. What do you think about this? What did you think of Gina's before and after? Comment, and don't forget to click like. If you happen to be new here, take the opportunity to subscribe to the Mira Histórias channel so you will have easy access to our stories and updates. Thank you. and see you in the next video.
Assista ao vídeo indicado.
Watch the dubbed video. Mira el video doblado.吹き替え版の動画を見てね. شاهد الفيديو المدبلج. 더빙된 영상 봐. Regarde la vidéo doublée. Schau dir das synchronisierte Video an. Guarda il video doppiato. Смотри дублированное видео. Dub kiya hua video dekho. Dublaj de video yu izle. Tonton video yang sudah didubbing.